Okay. Not sure how this is going to work, so we're just going to figure it out as we go. So the live feed isn't actually there, so I'm going to is it there? Mm-hmm. So the YouTube is working as well. Start screen share. Go live. Okay. Anyway, actually, we don't need a title, do we? Go live. Go live. No, I think we are live everywhere. Yes, we are live on YouTube. Just kill that. And we are live on Facebook, I do think. Yeah, we're live on both. Let's go and see where we go. Can I share this to a group? No, no idea. Lads, I'm just figuring this out as we go. It's my first time doing this, so if you're watching, just bear with me. And I will try to keep an eye on who's here, who's not. I'm going onto my feed on my own Facebook because I'm not sure really if I'm doing this right or wrong. Yes, we are live. Perfect. And the YouTube is live as well. So we're all live. Okay. Okay. And can I get this shared? All right, Stephen, I've shared it to the groups. Mick, thanks very much, Stephen, because I wasn't sure whether I was doing that correctly or not. I do have the feed here. I can see your comment there now, Stephen. Yeah, I'm brutal at this stuff. So yeah, I have been setting this up for a couple of minutes here now. So we'll go live. We'll start the conversation as we go. We have 11 viewers there at the moment, lads. Say hello. Don't be afraid to. Michael McCullough, Noel Summers, and Stephen are there. I can see that. We have 14 viewers. I just can't see their names. That's all. I don't know why I can't see their names. Again, I'm not sure how to do this. Brian, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully be involved this year. We got a bit of good racing. Let's see how we're going. Looking that doesn't look too bad. There's the banners behind me, lads, for the racing. Yeah, so it's all good. Yeah. So we're going to kick this off in a couple of minutes, lads. We have about 2 or 3 minutes before I decided. I said 6 o'clock. And we have 14 viewers here at the moment, which is fantastic. And yeah, so we'll go from there. We'll just start as we do. I have my phone here as well, so I'm looking down at the phone so I can see who's watching and hopefully get the names in there for anybody that's there. How's it going, PJ? Nice to say hello there. Great to see that. Hope everybody's doing well, by the way. Porky, how's it going? I hope your breeding is going well. My youngsters have just started hatching. Yeah, so I should have about 60 youngsters in the next few days. And from those 60 youngsters, I'm only going to be keeping a handful. Most of them, probably 40 to 50 of them will be going out. I won't be keeping them because I don't really want to have them here. Yeah, so that's pretty much. So lads, come on, say hello. We have 21 viewers. Let me know who's here. Noel, how's it going? Eamon Summers, how are you? Lads, stick your name in the comments there so I can see the comments and we can have a bit of a chat. And I can, if you ask questions in the comments, I can try and answer them. I do have a few notes here to keep me going for a little bit. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. We've 25 viewers and counting. How's it going, Dave? Haven't seen you in a while, Dave. Been a while, actually. I haven't seen you since Blackpool. Hope everything's going well with you. This is predominantly aimed at lads that are in Ireland. Anyway, lads, it's for racing this year. So it is predominantly for lads that are located in Ireland. And it's just something a discussion around racing the 32 Counties International Pigeon Racing, i.e. the banner here, for the coming season across the UK and hopefully into Brussels if we get enough. How are you, Chris? Chris, nice to see your name popping up there. Happy days. 24 viewers at the moment, lads. With 24 people getting involved. And by the clock, we have another minute to wait. So I am going to hang on for another couple of minutes. It's going okay, Brian. Things are good. Numbers are growing. We could do with them growing faster, but like everything, it's always a slow start, and we just have to keep moving with it. All right, Nadger. Yeah, we just have to keep moving, and that's all we can do, Brian. Paul, I've just got a message here. I just have to respond. Somebody looking to see where the Facebook is on, so it's on. Just asking. So it's on live now. Yeah, sure. Jefferson Teller, want to wish all the best for 2023 and everyone in the races. Well, look, Jefferson, it's a long process. It's been a process to get to where we are now, and we have 27 viewers on at the moment, and the process is just ongoing. It's just continuous. It never stops. There's so much to do in the background when you're setting something like this up, and I think most people don't realize what actually is involved and how much work it actually takes in the background. Yeah. So lads, look, just keep joining in there. Charlie Murphin, how are you, Charlie? Nice to see you there. See everybody that's here. We've quite a few people here, which is great. Yeah, it's all good. With 26 watching live, which is fantastic. Lads, please share this into the groups. Hopefully more people will watch. We want as many people on this as possible having a look at this. I do have it on live streaming on YouTube as well. And there doesn't seem to be any chat there at the moment. So look, it is on Facebook Live anyway as well. I'm recording both at the same time, so they can be looked back on. Alan, James, how are you? Nice to see a couple more names there. We've 25 viewers now. Lads, we're 6:02 now. So I'm going to just kick this off and talk about where we're going. Oh, just get that out of the way. Talk about where we're going. We'll leave that there, actually. Talk about where we're going. So, lads, this is just about 32 Counties International Pigeon Racing. I've been asked to do a live a couple of times. And not that I've been putting it off, there's just so much going on. You know, what are you supposed to do? Time is a commodity most people don't have these days. But just after having so many people ask me, especially about this year, I did decide that I'd come on and have a go with this and just do something like this to give a bit of information out where people can put stuff in the comments there, and I'll try and answer questions that are relevant to racing with the 32 counties in the coming season, you know, and any questions that maybe I can answer that may not be relevant to it as well. So it's just there. Paul, how's it going? Nice to see you on. Just messaging you there. So where are we? So that's 32 counties is now in its second year. Last year was the first year that we tried to get some racing off the ground, and we had 3 races planned: Leicester, London and Brussels. Unfortunately, the Brussels one didn't get pulled off simply because lads hadn't got the boards. James Beltran, it's actually it's evening here, but good morning to you wherever you are. So it did. So the Brussels race didn't get pulled off simply because there was nobody to race it. There was no boards to be sent. That's the long and the short of it. But the other 2 races, success is, success is what you decide it is. So for me, success with 32 counties pigeon racing is all the preliminary work that comes into getting the boards to the race point, making sure the boards are released with the best possible chance of getting home. So that's it there. Potter, how's it going? Hey Paul. So making sure that the boards are released with the best possible chance of getting home. And to me, then that's success. The boards getting home is another matter. This type of racing has never been done before in Ireland. These race points I am picking for 32 counties have never been used before in Ireland for the most part. Okay, there's one. Carmarthen this year has been used before. And I'm hoping to change why, and I'm going to give you my reasons for picking Carmarthen. So Leicester was decided upon last year because it means you're going directly east of Dublin. And the reason for that was that then it meant the whole east coast of Dublin was nearly on a par distance-wise. And then the further west you go, then your distances increase. Okay? So that's the whole point of going directly east of Dublin. Okay? Point of fact, when it came to the Leicester race, the winner of Leicester, Philip McCullough. So Philip McCullough won the Leicester race, and he is in Downpatrick in the north of Ireland. And actually, luckily enough, then when I looked at the distances, I am actually flying a mile further than Philip as the crow flies, because that's how we measure distances. Okay, so Philip won the race, and he's a mile shorter than me in Dublin. And traditionally here in Ireland, we race pigeons south out of France. So that's the difference. That's the main difference here. How's it going, Simon? That's the main difference here. So going east, I'm trying to give 32 counties, trying to give everybody pretty much a level playing field. That was the idea, going to the likes of Leicester and then London, because even the distances, they're not that varied. There's a 50-mile difference between the south and the north when it comes to going out as far as London. Okay. So that's the reason behind it, to try and keep everybody on a par, that then the further west you go, then everybody's going further. Okay. Now, so where do we go from there? So look, the races happened last year. In my eyes, they were a success. The boards for 32 counties, the boards were brought to the race points and released. You have no control once the boards come out. No controller in the world has control once them pigeons are released. Once they're gone, they're gone. And once they're gone, they're gone. There's not much you can do. Okay, so the boards get out and off they go, and away they go. And hawk strikes, falcon attacks, whatever happens en route, they have to put up with it, and they have to either sink or swim when it comes to it. Okay, so that's it. That's where success is measured in my eyes for this end of it. The bigger successes are then when the boards come back. So for this year, after conversations over the winter, the biggest factor I found out was that fellas were wondering about where to go. So hey Jason, how are you? Sorry, Paul and Luke, if you're there, hello. So conversations around the race points and where we're going. So that's why it was decided to come back closer to Carmarthen. One of the biggest things was that fellas thought the distance was too great. So I understand that. So that's why now we've got a stepping stone of distances out as far as Brussels. So they're starting at Carmarthen, which is approximately 130 miles to Dublin. Then we're going to go to Monmouth, which is about 180 miles to Dublin. Then we're going to go to Marlborough, which is 230, I think it is, or 240 to Dublin. And then we're going to go to Littlehampton, which is 300-ish, 290, 300-ish to Dublin. And then we have Brussels. So it's that stepping stone effect. So racing has never been done like this in Ireland before. So that's where this is now. And that's the aim of this. There are long-term aims with this, but the short-term aim is just to give people a different option. What's going on in the federations and the current organizations is fantastic. It's racing that we have done, God knows for how long, since racing started in Ireland, I would assume. Certainly in my lifetime, that's exactly the way the racing has gone, and that's what we're up against. And we have to roll with what happens. And we have all sorts of problems getting pigeons home out of the channel in Ireland. And the main reason is we have 70 miles of water for the most part for birds to cross. And pigeons don't want to cross water. We know that. Okay, so that's why this idea of giving them stepping stones in distances, first of all, because traditionally we race 120 miles to Dublin, respectively to the other parts of the country, from Talbany or Pembroke-ish, and then we have Penzance and Senan Cove, which is then 230 miles. So it's a jump of 100 miles to Dublin. Okay, whereas this stepping stone effect goes, you're going 130 and out 50 miles ish every time for distances, and hopefully pigeons are then going to be, the theory behind it is that they will be running at the water by the time they hit it, and hopefully then they cross. Now look, that's only a theory, you know. It remains to be seen whether it happens or not. Okay, so where are we now? So the races this year are starting from the 31st of May. I'm not sure whether you can see these, but this one here, we have the race points right out to Brussels here, and we have them here, 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 and here. So they're just roughly, the biggest jump is the one from Littlehampton to Brussels, because we are going from 300 to 500 miles, and it is a jump. And the reason for that is because it's either we go further out to London-ish again, west of London, or we give it somewhere short. Pick Littlehampton because it's also then a stepping stone into France for the National Flying Club, for the French races with the federations that are here at the moment. Okay, so the races and the dates that are going to be upcoming for this year will be the 31st of May. We are going to have Carmarthen. The 34th, the 7th of June will be Monmouth. 14th of July will be Marlborough. 21st of July will be Littlehampton, and the 5th of June. Sorry, that was June. 31st of May, 7th, 14th, and 21st of June, and then the 5th of July will be Brussels. Okay. So marking will be on a Monday, because these are Wednesday dates for racing. So marking will be on a Monday, and marking times will vary depending on where you are in the country. For the Dublin time specifically, the first two races, the 31st and the 7th, will be a Monday evening-ish, Monday afternoon to evening race marking for a Wednesday liberation. And that the reason being because the first two race points are actually quite close. They're only, like, the first one certainly is only an hour away from the port, and the second one then is probably about 2 hours away from the port, or a little shy of that. Okay, so that's the reason for the evening marking. Around the country then, they will be dependent on who is running the stations. And obviously the boards have to be in Dublin for the evening time to head off. So obviously the marking outside of Dublin will have to happen earlier, and that will be confirmed later on. So there's no issue around that. The marking stations as they stand, we have one in Dublin, one in Wexford, one in Northern Ireland. We have a pickup point from the west of Ireland. Jason O'Brien in the west of Ireland is going to pick pigeons up for us and bring them over. And then we have nothing in Munster as of yet, but I will arrange a courier for anybody who is taking part from Munster to get the boards up to Dublin. So that will all be arranged. Okay, that's what's to be done. Okay. Now, as I've said, the marking times will be in the evening for the first two races. For the second two UK races, they will be morning to afternoon markings, early afternoon. And then for the Brussels race, it will be Sunday markings, so the boards have plenty of rest after travelling for nigh on 24 hours to get there. Okay? Now, where does that leave us with the release times? So it's certainly for the first race at Carmarthen, it's actually the race point. The liberation site is a school, and I have agreed with the school principal that the release time will be 10 a.m. around 10 a.m. That will be the release time for the first one, so that's okay. Okay, so we'll have that first release time at 10 a.m. and then from there the boards will be home. It's 120 miles, 130 miles, so it shouldn't be a major issue for anybody in the country to get the boards home out of that. Again, we have the water, and that's another matter. Other than that, the release times will be as early as possible, with the exception of Brussels. The chances are, and the most likely release time for Brussels will be the afternoon, meaning that all boards will have a night out. And there's a reason for that, lads. If you go to Brussels, and we'll just talk about to Dublin, it's 530 miles-ish to Dublin. The actual race point is Tienen. It's just to the west of Brussels. It's the closest race point I could get to it. And that's where we are. It's 530 miles to Dublin. For the most part, if you have a west wind, pigeons are not going to make the coast of the UK. And if we do at that point, they may stop and not want to travel the last 60 miles or 70 miles of open water if they've landed there that night. And the purpose then of having a midday to mid-afternoon release is that the pigeons will all overnight in the UK, hopefully, because there's only a bit of a step across from Brussels into the UK. And from there, then, if they're motoring again or they're moving again, they will hit the water running again and cross. So that's the idea. Again, it remains to be seen. And the reason I've picked that is that a long time ago, they used to have afternoon releases for big races, and the returns were always much better than having early morning releases in the heat, where birds are exhausted come 10, 12, 14, 16 hours on the wing. That's the simple reason behind it. Okay. Right. So no questions so far, lads, on anything that we've been doing so far. So I'm not sure where we are with this. I thought that I had a few questions, but not as yet. So if you have any questions, lads, stick them in as we go, and I'll answer as we can. Like, you know, I'll do my best to answer as I go. We have to get involved. We have two options, as you can see here and here. There's two options. We have a €300 per loft or €120 per loft. The €300 per loft, if there is, and lads, these are all contingent on numbers. We have to have numbers. If their numbers aren't there, this doesn't happen. So you have to have numbers. So let's be very clear about that. So the €300 per loft option, the big race will be race 4, €15,000 first prize, contingent on 200 participants in that section. And on top of that, then we will have the Stephen Reid Memorial Race, the Manhattan Cup, as I let it out there a few weeks ago. The Manhattan Cup will be raced from Littlehampton at 300 miles, the Stephen Reid Memorial Race. Okay. The minimum numbers to make this work, as I said, are €200, 200 participants for the first one, and 120 for the second one at €120. And then the prize funds then breaks down to €1,000, 300 and 200 per each race for the second option. And that's each to their own, and everybody can take part as they want to. Okay, how's it going, Wayne and Richard? Just seeing you coming on there. I would like to get the two fellas have asked me about, you know, having big money on racing from your backyard. Well, to do that, like any major race with big money, you have to pay a big entry fee, and it's that simple. That's where it works. I think the best thing about this is once you've paid your entry fee, the boardage cost is very, very nominal. It's only €2 per board for all races. So I think that's very, very, very reasonable. A €2 board right out to Brussels. So yeah, so I think it's pretty good in that respect. To be quite honest with you, Jason, I'm going to try and bring somebody on here. I've seen Jason O'Brien there, and I'm going to try and pull him on if I can. Hey Simon, I didn't see you there. Jason, I'm going to try and bring you. Ask Jason. Jason, I'm hoping this works, and we're going to send you a request to come on. Stick your video on there if you can. Send request, job done. Jason, let me know if you get that. If you can, come on, just click it. It should just ask you to press your video on. Jason O'Brien is actually the lad in the west of Ireland that is organising. He's my courier to get the boards to Dublin for the lads that are racing from the west, which is ideal. And as I said, everybody is welcome to get involved. Something that is interesting and something that has come up a few times was around the name 32 counties and where it comes from. Well, the simple fact is, it's 32 counties because pigeons don't know any borders, you know, and that's all I want. It's all about racing. Pigeons don't know any borders. They just fly, you know. So I think having 32 counties on an even keel is the best way forward for me. Anyway, certainly one of the things I would think is that it is a good way forward, you know. Yeah. Other than that, then, oh God, we have plenty of people here. Hi, John, as well. Sean, how's it going? So yeah, 32 counties is as it says on the tin. There's nothing political in it. There's nothing sinister in it or anything like that. It's an invitation to everybody, for anybody wanting to take part. It's very, very simple. The marking station in the north of Ireland is the Harmony Club under John Abernathy. How's it going, David? How are you? The marking club is the Harmony Club in the north, the Donecarney Racing Pigeon Club in Dublin, the Blackwater in Wexford. As I said, we have a pickup point with Jason O'Brien. Okay, Jason's just telling me that it's not coming through. Jason, I hope if you're watching on your phone, I'm not sure if it works or not, but I have sent it definitely. Try do it here. I'm not sure if I can do it here. Let me see. Sorry, lads. I'm just if you don't get this, no, cancel that. We don't want to end this. Interactivity, graphics, distribution settings, dashboard. I probably should. I don't know how to do this. I was trying to bring Jason on there, and we can't see him there. Jason, I'm sending this from my phone, so you should get it again. I'm going to try it now, Jason. Where are we going to? Where are we go? Oh, it's not there. There you go. Well, it's definitely sending, Jason, so you should. Yeah, phone, pitch, yeah. Yeah, phones and phones, Jason. That's it, phones and phones. Look, anyway, sorry. So we're going to go back to the market section. We have Dublin, Wexford, Harmony Club in Northern Ireland. We have Jason O'Brien picking up boards from the west. And in Munster, we don't have a marking station per se, but I will set one up if we get 20 lads. Now, lads, there's a reason for 20 lads as well. With 20 lads, probably 10 or 15 are going to race each race, which is great. We want 10 or 15 to race each race, but it makes the marking stations then viable. And as they grow, when we kind of get to 100, people, we'll split the marking station so everybody doesn't have to travel so far. But that's the way, that's the kind of the theory behind it and the working behind it. And as I said, 32 counties is as it says on the thing. It's simply because there's 32 counties on the island. It's not about north, south, separate, east, west. It's none of that. It's just simple 32 counties because there is 32 counties. The dream behind this, so again, I'm running my notes here. The dream behind this is really to showcase Irish pigeons on an international level. We have one of the, if not the hardest racing routes in the world. It's very simple. I'm going to try and bring David, if you're there, I'm going to try and bring you on as well, if I can. Let's see. David, David Reynolds, I'm just sending you a request. Let's see if this works and see if you can come on. I've sent it to you anyway. So we have one of the hardest, if not the hardest racing routes in the world. And the reason for that is that we have 60 miles of open water. Johan, no, we've no translator. We barely speak English in Ireland. What can I say? Nice though. And it's that 60 miles of open water at the end that birds just don't want to travel. They don't want to cross. You know, they just don't want to cross it. And that's the way it works. But I would love to be getting pigeons into Ireland from Brussels and beyond even, you know. Right the way out from Brussels and beyond. That's exactly what the idea is. And then hopefully within 5, maybe 6 years, we would have some Irish fanciers saying, I'm actually going to have a go. I'm actually going to have a go at racing, international racing into Ireland, because the boards can do it. It has been proven before. Boards have raced out of Palamas 3 times. The pigeons have come into Ireland out of Palamas. And way back when, not even in the internationals, there was pigeons raced out of Rome. There was pigeons raced out of Italy. There was pigeons raced out of really, really massive distances into Ireland. It's no mean feat, and it's not easy, but it is doable. And the only way we're going to get more pigeons to do it is by sending them. And that's the simple fact. Yes, Johan. David, I don't know what's going on then because I'm sending it from my phone to ask you to come in, and it's not happening. So no, we don't want to. We want to cancel that, and we want to see if pin comment, comment, report, comment, delete. I don't know. I have no idea how to do this. Viewers, see if I can pull people in. Let me see. Add to event logs. Yeah, no. Tag, manage second. What's that? Yeah, I don't know, lads. I can't. I'm just going to have to stick with the comments, asking questions, lads. Stephen, how's it going? Nice to see you there. So, look, I would love to see racing internationally into Ireland on a regular basis. That's the long term goal here, and that's the aim. That's what we want. You know, why shouldn't Irish pigeons fly over France? You know, they're second to none in the world. This is a different race route. I would like fellas to be getting their pigeons out of 500 and 600 miles and then saying, do you know what? I might have a go at an international now, you know? And that's the way it is. So the aim of this is to facilitate everybody as much as possible, as often as possible, and make sure that people can get involved, you know, and that's the hope. That is the hope, and how it's hopefully that's how it's going to work, you know. Look, and it's only going to take you guys to get involved to make it work, lads. Everybody has to get involved. Like the conversations going around this kind of racing for years, especially into the UK, and how difficult it is to race sports into Ireland, and nothing has changed. So I have been involved in committees. I have gotten involved in other things to try and push this kind of racing, but it has never really taken off because those that are running the committees and running everything haven't really wanted. Actually, that's not true. I'm not gonna say haven't wanted. There just hasn't been the appetite to do something like this, and that's why I'm here doing it now. 32 Council is set up simply to offer a different type of racing to what we do now. It's very, very simple, just a different type of racing, you know. And what else would we be doing? You know, what I'm just pressing buttons here, lads, because I don't know what I'm doing. What else would we be doing? Because at the end of the day, if we don't try something else, we all know where the numbers are going and what's happening with them at the moment. And we don't want, I certainly don't want to see the sport that I love falling down, you know, or just going by the wayside, because I do love it, you know. John, afternoon live is not a good idea, in my opinion. 6 a.m. give the best chance, 7:30 a.m. live. John, again, I appreciate that kind of thought, and I have had a lot of conversations around this. And the reason, what's this, Jason? Okay, and the reason for it, John, is the fact that it's so far. If we let birds go at 6:30 in the morning from Brussels at 530 miles, most pigeons are only going to be on the Welsh coast or the coast of the UK by the time evening comes, and they're going to be flying all day and exhausted, in which case they're going to go down and probably not get up the next morning, or they're going to be across the water, in which case then you're into darkness and all that, and all of those other complications. So whilst I appreciate an afternoon lib, some people might not think it's a good idea. The reason behind it is the fact that where the pigeons will end up if we do an early morning liberation. Now, that being said, if there's a strong east wind blowing the pigeons across, there's no reason not to try something like an early lib, but the chances of that are unlikely. Okay, and we have to be aware of that going into this. It's that simple. And east winds don't do us any favors here in Ireland when we're racing out the challenge. They never have, and they probably never will. You know, so that's what you're up against. David, I don't know where's my comments gone to. These are very, very slow to come through. The comments are coming through on one piece and not the other. David, sorry, education of the boys and the fanciers will only happen if you participate. Well, that's the truth, David. This is only going to work if fellas get involved. Like, there's a minimum viable number even to run these races. And I can tell you now, lads, the minimum viable number is 150 lads. So we have to have 150 lads north, south, east, and west getting on board with this. So I don't mind being open about that. This needs 150 people to get involved. You know, Brian, you're saying it's a brilliant idea. I hope you're in Ireland and I hope you're going to get involved. It's very simple. But it will work. You know, the biggest commentary, and I've said this in another video, the biggest commentary around what was going on last year was the boardage and very low boardage. And look, I appreciate that and I completely understand that, like, you know. And from that point then, well, the only way to have bigger boardage is for more fanciers to get involved and race their boards, you know. And people will tell me that, well, they've only a small team. And my father keeps a small team of boards. He only races 24 pigeons. In fact, this year he only has, I think, 20 old boards to race. But he'll race every race. He'll on the Federation card of 5 water races as well. He'll race them. He will have 2 or 3 races, 2 or 3 pigeons per race across the water. And that's how he does it, you know. That's exactly how it works for him. And it does work. It definitely does work. And Jason O'Brien is just saying, we need to remember all the channel racing is risky and losses are high. Pigeons will be lost from France, the same as 32 counties. No real reason not to send to 32 counties. If you get a good one, you're in the money. I could win a North Road and wouldn't get a penny. Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into anything like that in the politics of it. But yes, look, we can lose our pigeons down the road on the land. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the water. But we all know how difficult racing into Ireland from the channel is. It is absolutely, it's heartbreaking. Even for me, like, I lost 42 pigeons in one go last year. And, you know, a conversation would be say, well, it must have been the pigeons. I don't believe that. I actually look at myself first. And the reason for that is, it wasn't, forget my pigeons, because there was pigeons there from top fanciers that had already flown the water many times, lost. You know, so maybe it was the race points. Maybe it was, we know there was hawk attacks on both of them. Certainly from the first one. Depends on the time, John, and I do agree with you. The heat can be an issue. I do agree with you. It's a big ask from Brussels. I appreciate what you're trying to listen, John. Thanks, and you're right. It is a big ask from Brussels. It's a big ask from anywhere, and we have that no matter where we go. It's a big ask from France, because in my eyes, 500 miles from Brussels is near enough the same as 400 miles from France to me. That's where we're at with that. Like, you know, it's nuts. You know. So that's where we are with it. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. Nathan McMahon, if you could find a way to get the sprint lads involved, I guarantee your membership with participation in the water will shoot up. NFC won't give us a marking station down the south. But if you have 3 marking stations, the length of Ireland, put a sprint race on. Well, Nathan, I would say the sprint race is any of these races across the UK. And that's why for this one here, the big money is on the 4th race, which is Littlehampton, which is 300 miles to Dublin. That's a sprint race. 300 miles is a sprint. The problem we have, Nathan, is we have that water at the end of it. That's where our problem is. And that's where the problem always is. It's the water at the end of it, you know. So I'd say agree with you. Part of the reason for the prize money being on the UK race rather than the Brussels race is simply because it is to encourage the sprint lads to get involved. Why shouldn't they be involved? You know, there's no reason for everybody not to be involved in this. You know, it's very, very simple. And that's why that section is put there, because this is really sprint orientated. You know, in fact, the 15 grand is on race 4 at Littlehampton rather than race 5 at Brussels, simply because I'm trying to encourage fellas to get on board and actually give us those numbers that we need. John Faney, crossing the seas at 350, 400 miles is a massive task compared to 600 miles crossing land and no hiding place on the water. John, you're dead right. Absolutely dead right, John. I fully agree with you. Crossing it on land is so much more than doing it on the sea. What am I doing here? Than doing it on the sea. I actually agree with you. And as David said something back there that I did just miss. David said it took 5 years for a team at Bourse to fly 600 miles, and it was due to education he gave them. Well, and there's a man with experience talking. There's a lot of people paying attention to what David is doing at the moment. And John is just replying there saying that at 300, 400, 500 miles is very different to the water. And look, there's David, completely agrees. You know, we all know crossing the water is a massive, massive issue. It's a big issue for all of our boards all the time. But it's never going to get any easier if we don't send them. And as David has rightly said, educate them correctly. As it stands, I like the idea of stepping the distances out. It's another. I listened to feedback that came in from last year's racing about the distance being too big of a jump, and now we have 4 races across the UK with roughly 50 miles skipping across, and that's what it's for. It's about giving the boards the chance to come on board, to get the mileage under them, to get the experience of shorter distances over water rather than jumping them, as you say, right into a 300 or 400 mile race. The dates, I have had a conversation with a couple of people around the dates. Most of the channel racing in Ireland starts around the end of May to early June. Okay, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, my own Fed card, the first Talbany race is the 4th or 3rd of June, which is a Saturday, and that's when most of the UK races start. I know I was talking to another person, the Munster races, the Southern races, they're starting their water races around that time, around the 3rd or 4th as well. And that's what you're at. Like, so the timing is right. The first 4 races are going to be every week on a Wednesday, the same as the normal federation races. One thing that has come up that I haven't actually mentioned is that the marking times may clash with the INFC marking. And I just want to let everybody know here and now, that isn't the case. The marking days will be the same. I think for Skibbereen, it's a Tuesday marking, but for the Penzance, the Yearling National, and the other races, it's a Monday marking. And I will be here to make sure facilitation is made for everybody who wants to take part in both to be able to. This is not about one or the other. This is about both. Okay, so if you, for example, want to take part in both organizations' races, I will certainly be trying to facilitate anybody who wants to take part in those races. So for example, if you're in the north and you want to race both races, the marking station is up there for the 32 counties as well, as I've said, with John Abernathy and Harmony Lofts. And you can facilitate it. It's very, very easy. You either go to one or go to the other. Go to one and then the other. You know, it's either or. Last year, it did actually happen that we had one guy wanted to race the London race, and it was the same day as the Yearling National. And he arrived down here for marking at 9 o'clock, got his boards marked, and off he went. And that's it. Off he went. You know, and that's perfect. He went off, he got his boards then marked for the Yearling National, and it was wonderful. Jason is saying, every year since I started racing into Mayo, the same problems all over the country. Our club in the West shouldn't work. His club in the West is spread over 5 counties, but it does, because lads get involved. There's hard days, and other organisations are still running as they do. Jason saying his first race is 100 miles, and just don't be underestimating what goes on with the Pigeons. Alan, no, how's it going, Alan? Alan was fortunate. Alan said he clocked from Leicester, which he did. He also got 2 reported, one in Scotland and one in the south of England. And there was a small convoy of 315 boards, you know, and they could have been easily clashed with thousands of trainers. They could have. Yeah, they could have. We just don't know. Once the Pigeons get out of the baskets, and they went, they were gone. They went where they should have gone, you know. A couple of the reports, birds were on the way, and we had birds home that were hawked as well. So yeah, it happens, you know. Jason saying he races 100 miles. I don't think there's an issue with Pigeons being sent 100 miles first off. I mean, there certainly shouldn't be, you know, because at the end of the day, that they're made for it. Like, you know, we in sprinting, it's about that shorter, consistent regularity. But when it comes to distance racing or even across the water, I suppose, in a way, the pigeons do have to kind of think for themselves, and we have to let them, and if you don't let them, sure, you're going to be dead in the water. Where are you going to go with it? So what would be my expectations for this year's racing? Well, to be quite honest with you, I would like to be having a minimum number of 150 involved, lads. That's it. 150 participants taking part in these races. That's it. At that 150, we would hopefully have an average then of between 500 and 700 pigeons per race, if not more. I would love more. Absolutely love more. The more, the better. We all know numbers helps. Okay, so I'm not saying anything other than that. Numbers do help. Okay, and we want numbers. Will it happen? It's up to you guys. You guys are out there watching this. You guys are seeing this. You guys are taking part. You guys are taking notes. It's only going to happen if you get involved. And like I said, there's minimum numbers must be involved for this to run. It doesn't run otherwise. It's just impossible. Any organization can't run without, you just can't run organizations without fellas involved and taking part, And as Alan said there, Alan was, if I'm not mistaken, Alan was third from Leicester, and that same pigeon then flew from France, from St. Malo for, I think it was the Miracle Cup race, from St. Malo as well, with a tracker on it. Interesting information off that tracker as well there was, and where the pigeon went. Alan's pigeon flew around France, went down from where it was released in St. Malo, went down and across over to the west of France, and stayed there for about 8 or 12 hours flying around up and down before eventually crossing towards Cornwall, and then eventually making it into Ireland and home. And like theoretically over the years, certainly for myself, I would have thought, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in Ireland would think, that when pigeons are coming home from France and their second day boards, that they would be, they may have overnighted in the UK, To me, overnighting in the UK with the likes of what happened with Alan's pigeon and that tracker was just, to me, mind-boggling, because that pigeon was constantly flying for 16, 18 hours, I think it was, or something like that, 16 hours anyway. Which just goes to show you that we assumed if that was one pigeon, how many were with that pigeon? Out of the 2,500 pigeons-ish that were released out of St. Malo that day, how many were with that pigeon flying up and down? How many went the other way, up to the east, and flew up and down? How many went up to the east as far as nearly Belgium and crossed from around the Calais area over to Dover? How many did that? How many did go into the UK, settle in the UK and come home? And we know there wasn't many home overall anyway. So that specific thing, that was absolutely mind blowing to me, to think that pigeon was flying around for that amount of time without going anywhere. And like I said, we think that normally they go into the UK. So for this year's racing, I would hope, as I've said, we'd have 150 minimum involved. We have a 3-board average ace loft challenge, and I'm hoping that will encourage everybody that is participating and taking part to send a minimum of 3 boards to each race. And if we were lucky enough to have 3 boards per person in each race, that's already a minimum of 500 pigeons. So 450 pigeons with 150. Obviously, some people will race more pigeons and some people race just one. That's also okay. And again, like I said to you lads, it's €2 per board across the water. I mean, it doesn't get any cheaper than that. Interesting enough, there is a comparison, and I have put this in one of the videos, but it has come up again, so I'll actually talk about it here. Some people are saying that this is a very expensive way to race your boards. And I'm just going to put the comparative out there. One of the national organizations has its membership fee. And we will just say its membership fee is €50, £40-ish. We'll just say €50, okay? So if you take your €50 and we'll say you race 10 pigeons in every race, okay? And we'll compare the different costs. So In every race with the 32 counties, the cost per pigeon is €2. Very simple. Okay. Just simple, €2 across the board. So we're going to say you're going to race 10 pigeons in every race. So your 10 pigeons are now costing you €20 per board, per race for the 5 races. That's €100 plus your €120 participation fee is now €220. Okay. So if you have €220, yeah, okay. If you have €220, that's your costs for racing with the 32 counties for the year. That's your minimum cost. In fact, that's your maximum cost. If you race all races and you race 10 boards per race, if you race less than 10 boards per race, it's obviously less cost. The national organisations, as they are, or whatever, I forget even the national organisation, but the UK races, racing across the UK, and the land nationals are still expensive. They're still, so for the land nationals, they're €5 a board. For the UK races, then they're another €5 a board, and then for the 2 French races, they're €10 a board. Okay, so we still have 5 races. So we'll say €5 at your 10 boards. So we have, remember, €50 to start off with, €50, and 10 boards that are €5 is another €50. So now you're up to €150. For your 2 UK races, your young boards and yearling nationals, they're a €5 board. So now you're up to 10 boards at a €5 board is 50, and 10 boards at a €5 board is another 50. So that's another 100. Now you're at €250. Okay, so it's €250 for your board, for your same 10 boards. And if you raise 10 boards to the 2 French races, that's a tenner a board. So now that's 100 and 100. So that's €200. So you have €200 now on top of €250 is €450 for those races with 10 pigeons. If you have less, it's fine. It's less, which is fine. And if you race the 32 counties, you have 5 races, stepping your distances out to 500 miles. And everybody is at 500 miles when you're racing these races. You're stepping your distances out. And as I've said to you, for 10 pigeons, for those 5 races, your minimum cost is €220. The maths just add up like that. It's that simple, and I can't make it any more simple. Jason O'Brien, our race fees are €250 plus membership fees and ring fees, and that's just for the club. And then he's saying the 32 counties isn't expensive. Well, I don't think it's expensive when you balance out the costs like that, and you think about the cost like that, and you break down what the real cost is. Because a lot of people have said to me, and this has come to me from a couple of the shows especially, that it is expensive. But it's not when you consider the breakdown and where the money goes. Okay. And it's not expensive. It is very, very reasonable in my eyes. I have paid €10 to get my pigeons to France. And I've sent a team of 12 pigeons to France before. That is expensive, Member fee is 30 plus many, yeah. So that's where the cost factor involved. So when you're balancing out those costs, as I said, you have 5 races, €50, €50, €50, €200. That's €350, and your €50 membership fee is €400 against €220. And like everything, the less pigeons you send, the cheaper it is, but it still balances out less over the period of time racing 5 races with the 32 counties. And it's that simple. Something else that has come up as well was, why don't they do a young board race? Well, the long and the short of it is, I would love to do a young board race, but again, that's going to be about numbers. So if the numbers are there and it's viable financially, there'll be a young board race put on. It's very, very simple. But again, lads, this is down to you. You all have to get involved. And if you don't get involved, it can't happen. I'm not sure what else to say about that, because it does have to have everybody involved. There's so much going on in pigeon racing in Ireland at the moment, and so many different thoughts going on, and the different organizations. The traditional way we race the channel is the traditional way we race the channel, and that's not going to change for the foreseeable future, not in my eyes anyway. And this is just giving another option to anybody who wants to take part in something else, something different, something more. And it's that simple, lads. This isn't about disregarding what has gone on before, because we have had no other option but to race the way we did before, and the way we still do. And I'll take part in those races as well. I still do, I'm not saying this is the only option for fellas, or should it be the only option for fellas, but it's certainly another option for fellas, and that's where I'm going with, and that's the way I wanted to run. I wanted to run like that as another option, for anybody who wants to take part, So yeah, so look, lads, that's I'm not sure where else to go with this. I've yacked for 50 odd minutes at the moment. And like I said, I would hope this will be a success. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, I will do everything I can to make it a success. But the only way it's going to be a success is if all of you out there around the country, north, south, east, and west, from the 32 counties, get involved. Because if you don't get involved, it doesn't work. That's the long and the short of it. It just doesn't work. It needs everybody to have a go. And not even everybody. Like I said, if I'm not mistaken, we have about, I would say roughly 10,000 to 15,000 fanciers in the country. We only need 150 to 200 of them to get involved to make this viable. And once it's viable, it keeps moving. I'll make sure it keeps moving. 32 counties will keep going as long as it's viable, but it has to be viable. No organization in the world wants to be losing money. And there certainly isn't the money in this to be pumping into it at a loss, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are, lads. I haven't seen any other questions there around anybody saying anything. There hasn't been any more questions around it. There's an option there. How do you call video call? Yeah, no, I can't do anything there. I don't know how to bring people on, but I can try it for the next one. If we do this again, I will certainly try it for the next one to see how it goes. Manager on a second to watch. So yeah, so look, lads, that's pretty much where we are. That's pretty much how it's going to run. Those are the race points, race locations, marking stations, marking times, release times, and like I said, John Gaynor there around the release time. I completely appreciate where you're going. How many fanciers signed up last year, Alan? I think there was about, I think if memory 62, I think it was 63, something like that. I'd have to look back the exact number. It was a low 60, if I remember rightly, about a low 60. So we need to double the number to make this viable, to make it completely viable. If the numbers hit 150, there should definitely be, again, it will all depend on finances, but there shouldn't be a reason why there's no youngboard race. And in fact, the youngboard race may even end up being open. If it was put on a youngboard race, it may be open to non-participants of the 32 counties. If that happened, I'm not sure whether it would happen or not. But again, it's all going to be about numbers. How's it going, Willie? Nice to see you on there. So yeah, so it really is about numbers. I would love to put on a youngboard race, at least one, if not two. But again, that's going to be down to viable numbers in the coming years as it grows, as it gets momentum. Hopefully then fellas will see, God, it is a viable option, and it's another option on top of your own fed racing around the country, which is what we all take part in, which is phenomenal in itself. It's very, very difficult racing into Ireland out of the channel. Nobody is saying anything else, least of all me, is saying anything else around it. I couldn't say it's not difficult. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, lads. Unless there's any last minute comments there, or anybody wants to stick something in that I'll read out, I think we'll be finishing up for now. I think this was a success. It was nice. We had roughly at the top, we've had high 30s watching all the way. Hey John, how are you? Nice to see you there, John Jones. John has been phenomenal, actually. John was my point of contact for the weather en route from in the Welsh land in Wales, and to get the coast to see what way the weather was on the coast. So John was brilliant, I have to say, last year for me giving him a contact him and let me know what the weather was like en route for the pigeons flying across. Yeah, it was very, very good. So lads, look, that's it. I may do this again in a couple of weeks. maybe put a comment in if you want to. If you'd like to see it again, we can have another conversation. If you have any questions, I may get them all together and then try and answer the questions that come in around the racing. But lads, if you're getting involved, it's time to start getting the payments in. Like every club, like every Fed, money has to come in to make sure it runs. So get your payments up, get them in. Let me know what you're doing. Get in contact. Facebook, WhatsApp, phone numbers, emails. There's a ream of ways to get in contact to make sure it happens. Okay? Okay, lads, I'm going to sign off there. It's been a pleasure. I was going to try and get somebody on with me, but that didn't actually work. So I'm going to have a look at how to do that for the next time. Okay? And I will try to do that for the next time. So, lads, look, have a good night. Have a good evening from 32 counties. It's over and out, and we will see you again.